We're waiting for Mike and Tiffany, just so you know.
Good evening, Tiffany.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm alive.
How about this? I should quit asking people how they are. I should just say, great to see you. How's that? Okay.
Well, hey, nobody really wants to know.
Well, that's not true. I just hope that the answer is that you're doing well.
That's why I said I'm alive.
I know. I hear you.
I would equate being alive with doing well.
Okay. All right.
In 2021. Well, especially for me, being alive. That's been pretty touch and go here the last few months.
Yeah. Life's a challenge, isn't it?
Ooh, my goodness. Yes, it is. But I'm glad to see you guys, as usual. It's the highlight of my month.
You're putting a lot of pressure on us now.
I know, right, Tony? Tony, you know, as always, it's a pleasure to see you, sir, Mr. President.
Oh, please.
Tiffany, do you have the motion?
I sure do.
Hi, Mr. Zimmers.
You to resend it.
No, I got it.
Perfect.
Hey, Mike. Well, he can't hear us probably yet. He's connecting audio. Got dressed up for you guys, see? Kept my work clothes on. President Mars is less than impressed.
You
know what? You know, you look marvelous. Julie, do we have enough? Okay, I think she's giving us the high sign.
Yes.
Okay, my turn.
Now 6:04. Do we have a motion on the floor?
I motion to adjourn to executive session to consider the following matters. 2.1, student discipline and other matters concerning individual students. 2.2, the appointment, employment, or dismissal of employees. 2.3, pending and imminent litigation. And 2.4, security procedures. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Hammers?
Mars.
Aye.
Mathis.
Aye.
Ringer.
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
That is 4 aye votes.
Okay, we will move to executive session and we will go back to open board meeting at 6:30 this evening. Thank you.
And
Hi, Angie.
Hello.
Hey, good evening, Preston. Good evening, Angela. Good to see you guys.
Hi, Preston. Angela.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Preston.
Good evening.
Hello, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening.
Ms. Hammers, are we ready? Okay, good evening. It is now 6:42. I'd like to call us back into open session. We will start with 3.1, approval of the agenda for March the 2nd, 2020 men. Recommend that the board approves the March 2nd, 2021 agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
second.
Any discussions? Ms. Hammers?
Blissett,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Mars,
Aye.
Mathis,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Ringer,
Aye.
Zimmers.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes.
All right, moving to 4.1, President's comments. Public comments will occur during the public comments portion of the meeting. If you're interested in addressing the board, please register to participate in the webinar. Registration to make public comment will be open through the end of the meeting. Please email your name, phone number, and topic of discussion or agenda item to boe@sps186.org if you wish to participate via telephone instead of through the webinar. All right, well, thank you. And moving on to 4.2. Preston, welcome back. We missed you last meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't really have any major things going on. I've been working with Mr. Mars and Mrs. Gill to get some spirit going for our basketball and football coming up. So I've been in contact with some students from the high schools, and we're trying to get some spirit weeks put together just to get those back, somewhat type of normal sports celebrations going on. So yeah, that's what we're going to be working on the next few weeks coming up.
Preston, how are you holding up, my dear?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just want to always make sure we check in with you too.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
you're the representative, but you're a student, a person. So just want to make sure you're doing all right as well.
Well, I'm sure that you guys are going to come with a lot of enthusiasm, and we look forward to your response. Thank you, Preston. Okay, all right. And moving to 5.1, Superintendent Gill, your report, please.
Okay, great. I had some reports come in from Gail O'Neill from the Sangamon County Health Department. Once again, we had 18 new cases to report today. Over the weekend, our numbers were pretty good in our community. We had 58 new cases, and that was 14 from Saturday, 20 from Sunday, and on Monday, there were 24. So, you know, we only have 4 of our residents from Sangamon County that are hospitalized, and my heart goes out to the 4 that are hospitalized, but that number is much better. And our community numbers seem to be trending downward. Our Sangamon County daily average is 2% today and 2.4% rolling for the 7-day average at this time. So that's a much better number than we were facing in November. So good news on that. I did provide the board all of our COVID dashboard information that is located also on our website each week, not only the weekly update, but also the breakdown by school. You can see that we did have one spike at Springfield High School due to one of our students that was positive, and then once we did the contact tracing, there were 22 students that had to quarantine. As of this time, no positive cases have come out of that quarantine, and they are past the 7 days where they were exposed, so it's getting into a comfort, area that we're hopeful that nobody does go ahead and get COVID from that positive case. But that is the higher number that happened at Springfield High School. Are there any questions regarding the COVID dashboard or any COVID numbers at this point in time? All right. Okay, I wanted to share a document, so I'm going to share my screen and start a presentation here. It is not a taped one tonight, so I'll just walk you through some of the key points. Okay, so we are continuing with our.
Welcome to Celebrate
Oh,
186.
I'm sorry.
Throughout
That's the wrong one. I'm just going to go through the presentation here. I'm afraid that,
the rest of
yeah,
the school year.
sorry. Let me escape on that one real quick and get back to you. So I did want to, so you can still see my screen. So I'm going to share with you the picture from Lee School Black History Month. I'm really proud of what they're doing out at Lee, and I get invited every year. Usually I go out and get to walk in a gallery and see the students actually perform their presentations live. But many of you were also at this presentation last week, and they did a great job doing it on as a Zoom event this year. We got to hear the students do their presentations, and we got to learn about a book study they're doing for their entire school. Their school is giving out a book called L. Ray Jakes is a Rock Star, and this is going to go on for the next few weeks, and not just every student, but every staff member, every member of their school team, custodial staff, cafeteria, bus drivers, everybody got a copy of this book so that they can continue to have a really good conversation about the story, what's going on in L. Ray Jake's life, and just be a part of the school. So I'm really excited to hear what happens with L. Ray Jakes and hear about some of the upcoming activities that they're going to be doing with that book. The next was a Lee School poster contest, and you see our top 3 winners here and their work that was displayed. But throughout the whole presentation, I was just very proud of the students and the staff that came together to have a great celebration last Friday.
We don't have your screen.
We don't have it.
You
We
can't
don't
see
have
my
your
screen at all? Okay, you can't see the screen at all?
No.
All right. Well, that was the highlight from Lee School. The other thing that we did have going on was the Black History Bowl. And the Black History Bowl went on at Southeast High School 2 weeks ago. Springfield High School won the preliminary round, but I want to make sure that all of you know that you can come to the final round on Saturday, March 27th. It'll be from 1 until 3 o'clock at Southeast High School. I want to thank Dr. Morrison, Mrs. Petty, Mrs. Gail Simpson, and Dr. Camayo from UIS, who's the chair of the African American Studies, for making their work on this event be very, they make every year, we just tweak it and make it even better. And we had some great candidates come and share their knowledge of Black history, and I look forward to the final event. One other thing I wanted to let you all know about is the Springfield Public Schools Foundation virtual dinner and art auction. So that is on March 20th. It begins at 7 p.m. for the virtual program. Once again, it's Dr. Brian Clay that I talked about last time. He's a graduate of Springfield High School and a principal scientist at Pfizer in the Department of Cancer Vaccines and Immunotherapy. So we're very excited to hear from him, especially in this day and age of vaccines being so important to us all, but also to celebrate and actually have an art auction that will be online as well. So if you have any interest in that whatsoever, go to our main website, and the Springfield Public Schools Foundation page will give you all the information that you need. I also wanted to bring to the forefront the fact that the ESSER grant was released today. So at 1 o'clock today, we learned that District 186 is going to receive, and this is a big number, $30,787,298 that can be spent on items that we had to purchase since March 13th, 2020, a year ago, when we did go into the pandemic. And that can be spent all the way out through September 30th of 2023. So our goal at District 186 now is to work on submitting the grant, submitting the timelines, our educational needs, program descriptions that go along with that, and make sure that we have a detailed budget that aligns with everything. I did attend a session yesterday. I learned that the Elementary Secondary Schools Relief Act is really in line with the first act. It's to focus on combating learning loss, providing student supports, providing technology needs and supports, job creation and retention, making sure that we keep our teachers employed and our staff employed. Any air quality or HVAC system work that we need to do, we've already done a lot of that, but what we can do in the future, this money can be utilized for. Of course, any personal protective equipment, keeping us in stock of all of that equipment over time, and then making sure the goal of getting schools open as soon as possible because of this money. So once again, we're still in the era where we have to do 6-foot social distancing, and our health department and District 186 are in constant communication. But anything we can do to support the learning loss, making sure we're supporting students, getting them the technology they need, and getting school open will be our focus utilizing this money.
Just a question for you. So what does this look like as far as participation from those being affected by it? Is this going to be a cabinet level decision thing? Are teachers going to have an ability, like, is there going to be some type of larger meeting so that all voices come to the table and feel heard, and we're not kind of getting dollars and people feel like this kind of outside of them, you know what I'm saying? Which that's our community partners, our teachers, just so you know what I'm saying, so that everybody feels like
you are thinking exactly as I think. I'm going slow to go fast. It's a phrase that I like to use. Really, I don't like spending money until I know I have it. Well, I know I have it as of 1 o'clock today, when that opened up. And Angie's shaking her head because we've all been waiting with bated breath. I mean, somebody can say, we think you're going to get this, but until we actually see it in our IWAS system, we don't count it as real. We have been, of course, working ahead and thinking about our summer boosts, which I will talk about here in a minute. However, beyond that, we do think that it's extremely important to bring our union partners, our community partners, our school partners to the table. We've done a lot of work in preparation for the summer, really talking to schools about what they think they need and what they see their students needing and what they would like the summer work to be. And so I've really been asking them to think outside the box. Don't always think about the restrictions or the barriers of what we've had in place in past summers, because we did not have this level of funding available to us at all in the past, and we were restricted. Now we really want to say what is possible and what are the ideas that you have to bring to the table.
I just know the email box is going to start blowing up when people start hearing about money.
Oh yeah.
And then there's an assumption that, you know, I have an idea, but I don't know who I'm supposed to talk to or whatnot. So I just wanted to make sure that before all of that starts to unfold, as it usually does, that hopefully other voices that aren't necessarily always the voices that are at the decision-making table also will have a stake in providing some feedback as to what they would like to see happen.
I believe our cabinet would like nothing more than other people to have a voice and to be a part of this, because it is something that is unheard of, you know, in education, to have the ability to have this type of money at our fingertips to do the things that we want to do programmatically, curricularly, instructionally, activity-based wise, think differently about our summer programming than we've ever done before. You know, we don't have all the answers right now about, yes, we're going to do this or that. You know, we know that we have some technology refresh needs. Not every device is going to come back to us perfectly, and we need to make sure that they're in good working order. But I mean, that's not even going to scratch the surface of this amount. Now, the one thing that we do have, and I know that Angie and Nate will tell me to make sure we spread it out, to make sure we budget accordingly, because we want to have the same amount of money available for next summer as well. We don't think that this summer loss is going to be fixed in one summer. We know that students are also burned out. We want to provide some opportunities for them for choice. When I say that, it may be that some kids want to keep going and want to earn some of the credits back. Others may want to take a little break and come back in June and July. We also know that, and we learned this from Matheny Withrow during doing some summer boosts in August, that really works for elementary students, for having them come back and do some fun entry activities to get them excited about school before we actually get the school year rolling. So one of the things we did to prepare is we did a pretty large survey of all of our students, teachers and staff, and said, who wants to come back to work this summer? And so far we've gotten over 760 responses of our educators, and over 44% of them have said, yes, I'm all in. I want to do something. That's about 333 teachers and staff members that have said they want to come back and support students this summer. That's a great start. And our initial analysis of the data as it's rolling in, it shows that it's across all 3 grade level bands too. So we've got elementary, middle, and high school that are interested in coming back and supporting their students. That's a large number, and it excites us about what we're going to be able to do, but we needed to make sure that we had the staffing.
To follow up behind Tiffany, during this time when you've had remote learning, parents, guardians, etc., have learned a lot about their children. So I think that you need to put up some kind of vehicle so that people that have learned something about children during this time can give you some feedback. We used to do that all the time to include the community. We need to do that definitely with this kind of money.
I agree. And the other thing, oftentimes people ask, are you still going to offer some
agree,
remote?
but I hope we get it done. Okay.
Oh, well, thank you. I will. I really want to say that we also will have opportunities for remote and in person. So I think that's important as well, for people to know it's not going to just be all remote, that it will be, some in person, of course, following the guidance we need to follow at this time.
Okay. Well, my point was that, hopefully by September, we can be back in school all the way. And so I want those people, the experiences that they have had and what they've had with their children, whether it be high or low, needs to be shared.
Excellent.
Yeah, I just think this is a community, the school districts, obviously we're a huge district, but catching these kids up is going to be a community-wide effort. And the more support we can get and buy-in, again, with this amount of money, is just gonna, obviously all eyes are gonna be on it. And I think the more support that you can get from outside community supports, your current community partners, teachers, all of that, so we can really spread and give these kids some wraparound services and support, I think just makes it easier, hopefully, on the teachers and those that are, working so hard to get these kids caught up. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of thinking a little more globally on
And
how.
that's why we're going slow to go fast, because
Yeah.
we have to have our partners at the table, and we have to make sure that we do it in the right way. And the first piece of it was to know what our funding was and what the strings were. So there's
Yeah.
another question and answer session this week that we will be attending as a district, and we'll pretty much have a clear picture by next week of what's allowed and get this ball rolling, so that we can submit the budget. Because we don't get the money until we submit a very detailed budget plan and timeline. It can be amended over time. So if something doesn't cost as much and we have extra money, we can amend that and move and do line item work. But it is detailed budget work that we have to do on our end as well.
Superintendent,
Yes.
just one more thought. With regards to the survey, is there a closing date on that, or is it closed already?
No, it's right after spring break here. We closed it up
Okay.
next Monday, right?
Well, those numbers are very encouraging. Thank you.
It does not preclude people, though, when we open up actual programs from applying if they didn't fill out this. It just helped us understand what kind of a breadth and depth of programming we can put in place, because we need people to do that work.
I think it's all positive. Thank you.
Yeah. So fourth quarter and summer boost programs right now, of course, I just explained we're assessing the personnel. We've challenged every principal across the district to provide us ideas for summer school of what they think might be possible at their sites. And then we want to break this out into a larger community conversations to make sure that we include all partners. Some of those include, Boys and Girls Club, Tiffany, of course, Camp Compass. We have a program called Camp Invention. Project Scope will be going strong as well during this time. So how can we help them and have some of this learning opportunity be not only just in our schools and some short traditional summer school program, but really spread it from the minute kids are out of school till the end of the school year. So those are the things that are on the plate with that. We are obviously thinking about leadership and staffing of these programs, how we're going to budget, communication to families, and the sign-up process, which we look to say would be sometime in April or early May. We need to analyze our spaces across the district, which Daryl is doing right now with each of the schools that have facilities work that's happening, to say, can you use any of your space this summer, or do we need to move it to a different building? We do know that it's not a good idea to have a lot of kids around heavy construction. So trying to figure out, if we can use 1 or 2 wings of a school versus the entire school, and what we can do with food service, of course, over the summer. So there's a lot of moving parts and things that go into the summer learning opportunities. It's not going to be just the smaller traditional programs that we've run before, but much more vast. So it's going to take a lot of people and planning. And that's what we have underway right now with some of the logistic pieces. At an upcoming board meeting, we also would like to bring to you a proposal on our graduation credits, not only for this year, but also beyond, and incorporate all of our future graduation requirements that were put forth in the new education omnibus bill. So we do have some increased requirements that are coming up for computer technology, foreign language, and some different type of coursework throughout high school students' journey. So we want to bring all of that to you, and we hope to do that at the next board meeting.
Superintendent Gill, if people are watching this school board meeting tonight, who are your community partners or churches with large facilities that are not being utilized or whatever, who is the best contact that they should reach out to if they want to help support the district in providing either additional spaces for you? Because I know social distancing is probably still obviously going to be a thing this summer, so that they can let you know ahead of time what you have access to should you need it.
I would say at this point in time, either reach out to me, Cherie Morrison, or Sheila Boozer, or Dr. Moody. All of us are kind of thinking and trying to think outside the box about what might be possible right now. And we're, of course, in contact with IDPH and the Sangamon County Department of Public Health to understand, how long the social distancing requirements will be in place. I did put in my report that our estimate is well over 50% of our staff have now received at least 1 vaccine, if not 2, and are scheduled to get their second. And we have many more that have spots and are getting opportunities daily. We just sent out 2 more opportunities today.
I just think that there's going to be a lot of folks that want to see the district do well and be supportive. So if they can kind of get the jump and let you know, so you know you have to work with as well.
Well, we had spring break this week kind of crop up on us. So we were letting people have a little breather. And then I think next week you'll start to see more communication about that. And we will send direct communication out to our community partners.
Superintendent Gill, is there going to be like bus service? Have they talked about that at all for the summer programs in?
That's one of those technical pieces that we have to work out and make sure that we have we have in the past had bus service. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Superintendent.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, we're all chomping at the bit to get, some of these programs back in the summer and to start the school year in a more normal fashion in the fall. And I know with our numbers staying low and like you said, vaccines getting out, it's going to be a huge step in the right direction. But the social distancing, I imagine, is going to evolve a little bit throughout the year. And do we have any solid numbers on our facilities, what they can actually handle under the current social distancing guidelines? Because I know they're about 25% on any given day, but do we know what the upper threshold is at our buildings? Because like Ms. Mathis was saying, there are going to be community partners and maybe we can take advantage of extra room, but do we know where we stand right now?
Yes, we've done a complete study of every single classroom across the district, and we have a capacity room sign on every single space that houses students that says how many students can be in that classroom maximum on any given day. So I can't really give you like, this is what our whole district is capacity wise. It varies for each individual school site. But we do have we have like a spreadsheet of the capacity of every room.
Right. And I'm sure it's going to evolve through the year, but it was just something that I was,
Right. I mean,
can't
there's
think about.
conversations about, do you need to have 6 foot or can you have 3 foot as long as you're in a traditional kind of format, not facing one another? And we assume that masks will still be a thing in the fall. And if the number does go down and maybe even some of our students are able to get vaccinated if they're in high school, does that help the process? So all of these things are big questions that we continue to have. They're the unknowns that we get to work around. But we're moving forward as if we can, hopefully return to more normal status at some point next year for sure.
And I'm assuming that's the reason we have children only going 2 days a week in person because of the IDPH guidelines.
Yes.
Is that why? Because of the social distancing?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we could have had more than what we had, but the 44% of the kids that returned are the ones that said they wanted to return, whose parents felt comfortable. So if more parents felt comfortable, we could definitely have more students. And with kind of to Micah's point, there is an upper threshold. We're not quite to that at every classroom and every school. The problem is that people don't always sign up in like real neat packages of groups of kids that work perfectly in each school. So you're right. Both of you are kind of right. There's a balancing act of making sure that you social distance and have enough room in the school for the students. Yes.
Doesn't that capacity also depend on the square footage of the room though?
Exactly. So every single room, that's kind of my point, is we have a spreadsheet with the room number, and one room could have 20 and the next room could have 12 because of the size and shape of the room.
And to answer Micah's question, Micah, that square footage comes, I know from DCFS, like there was a traditional square footage per kid. So you knew how many kids you could have in a building. They got talked about a lot when they were coming out with the guidances for reopening. So I didn't even realize that's where that came from originally, but that's how you're supposed to figure out how many kids you can have in one building.
Okay. Yeah, I know right now, I know that we can handle more than the 25%, but not 100%. So it's kind of a huge range that we're working with.
Right.
And Superintendent, just to clarify, I mean, you made a statement just a few seconds ago that, we're not at capacity even at where we're at right now. But at this particular point, the hybrid is where it's at through the end of the semester, correct?
Yes.
So we're not going to be taking any additional, even though we still have a possibility for additional. But at this point, our hybrid is
we're trying to keep
closed.
it. Yeah, we're trying to keep kids in the right consistent format for learning. Yes.
Thank you.
That really ends my report tonight. That was a lot of information. So.
Well,
You're doing a good job, and thank you for bringing forth information, though, Superintendent Gill. I really do appreciate it.
Well, that was exciting news for us today. A little bit, just like, okay, we've got to get back to planning. So we will hit the ground running on Monday. And, I know it's hard. You want all the answers. The community wants all the answers, but just let us know that we have to now take this and kind of pick it apart and make sure that we have everything ready to go. We don't want to meet just to meet. We want to meet when we have a real good plan and structure in place so that we can go fast.
Superintendent, before you move on, are there stipulations with this money that there are things that absolutely cannot be used for?
It doesn't really come out and say what it can't be used for, but we could, if we submit something in our grant and it gets bounced back, they'll be telling us right up front. It's not used to increase salaries or do things like that. It's about retaining your staff and making sure staff don't lose their jobs, which we really haven't had a problem with in District 186. But we do know that it's supposed to go to all of those things primarily that we just talked about: technology upgrades, making sure that we have students, with PPE for all students and staff, making sure we're looking at our HVAC and ventilation. But most importantly, what I heard and I believe the place where we ought to put our money is helping students with the supports that they need for any learning loss that they had, and any programming that we can put in place, not only during the summer, but during the school year as well.
Whenever you develop that plan, if we could have a copy of it,
Oh, yeah.
whoever's involved in it, because we're going to ask.
Sure.
About the money
I would think it's going to be not only just a budget sheet, but like a written commentary about what we're doing and how we're doing that. It's
Right.
going to be a big deal. I mean, all the excitement in the world, it also is a whole lot of stress too, to think about, making sure that you get this right. But we do have to make sure that we're looking not only for just how we spend it right now, but how we spend it into the future through 2023. And there is, really big discussions out in DC about what a third ESSER grant would look like as well. And so when you think about the air ventilation systems and the things that we could do at our facilities, that's also interesting too. So.
Well, I think it would be very helpful that as you go along, not when you come up with your final plan, that you keep the board informed of the ideas that are passing through the committee or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Not wait till the last minute so that we have
Don't
to
plan on it.
analyze it in a vacuum.
One last thing before you finish, Superintendent, to follow up with what you had mentioned at the very beginning of your report with the Black History Month Zoom event that was at Lee. I don't know what the record is for the amount of people that get on a Zoom call, but I think they had like 120 at one point, which was amazing. I mean, the turnout for that event was absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to give them a shout out and to kind of piggyback on what you said.
Well, I'll continue to celebrate the great things that we see happening in District 186.
Superintendent, thank you. That is a lot of great news. And thank you for sharing as soon as you had that information. I'm sure your team is going to do a good job of keeping us informed all the way through. We're going into discussion items right now, 6.1 and 6.2, which are old business and new business. I have a little disclaimer. While we may include old and new business as agenda items, we must modify our approach to these items during the COVID-19 period. Discussion of old and new business must be confined to emergency and or time-sensitive issues only. All right, 6.1. Are there any members that have any old business to discuss?
Yes, I'd like to follow up on something. Last board meeting, well, actually before the board meeting, I'd asked the superintendent for a report on students not attending hybrid that had signed up for it, and she did submit that report to us, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I have a couple of questions around it.
Sure.
I see at that time we had 45 students that signed up for hybrid that had not shown up at all, and I'm assuming since that time you put out this report that you're trying to determine why these students aren't attending. Right. That's not really my question or concern tonight, because I'm sure you're on that. That's not a whole lot of students. Right. The question I have is around the 318 students that are attending half or less. One of the questions I have around that are some of those students that come to school with the symptom and are sent home. Is that included in that number?
If it's a COVID-related absence, we are not coding that. So these are students who are not attending for other reasons. It could be, though, students that were supposed to come back after isolation and don't come back. Like, they're supposed to come back tomorrow and they don't, then they might be marked unexcused. But if they are out for a COVID-related, that is not included.
Okay. I would like to say this, and I want to give kudos to you and your staff, and definitely the teachers and administrators, because whether you've been remote this year or hybrid, you guys have given it your best shot, and it is so appreciated. I'm going to throw a little shade on some of these students and parents, though. I'm going to be honest about it. You signed up for hybrid. You're not coming to school. Part of the reason we're having to make you're behind is because you're not attending. So you're going to need to take some of this responsibility. I think our teachers are working their butts off. But for 318 of you to have less than 50% attendance when you actually signed up for hybrid, get on it. You got a whole quarter here to get it straight. And I think it's your responsibility as a guardian, a parent, grandparent, whoever's raising these children, that you need to make sure that your students are attending, whether it be hybrid or remote, because we got several students that are remote too that aren't attending. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. You know, we can't put it all on the teachers to catch you up. The parents have a responsibility here. You're gonna have to get these kids in school.
Yeah. And I'll reiterate those numbers that you just stated. We have 5,807 students that are hybrid across the district. And as you stated, we have about 318 who have 50% or less attendance on the days that they're supposed to come hybrid. Those are the, and we have some that have just, not shown up at all. So.
And then when we're following up with those families, are you hearing, is it just simply they're not coming, or is it?
Well, there's all kinds of reasons and things that are going on. What we did was, when we did this report, I ran it also by student, I drilled it down to the student, and we took a copy of that report and sent it to every administrator at the building so that they knew the name, that those students have been at 50%, and those that hadn't been attending. Not that they didn't know that. Most of them were like, yeah, we know, we've been doing this all along. But I wanted to be that explicit with the administrators and let them know that we are looking at these reports after 5 or 6 weeks here, and that this is really a sad number to look at.
The Superintendent Guild, don't we also have a contract, if you will, with ROE?
For truancy.
Truancy.
Yes, and they are at the table. They monitor our attendance, and we work back and forth. So the schools have been working with our truancy officers directly, yes.
Okay.
For remote and or for hybrid.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we know, are these students submitting their work and just not going to school, or are they just not submitting their work either?
There's a little bit of both at high school. Okay, we have some kids that are just not showing up, but are still submitting the work on the asynchronous days and are showing up on the remote days. But most of the kiddos that we're talking about here are just not doing well at all.
And when it comes to the remote numbers, what is absenteeism looking like for that percentage of those attending, or well, of those enrolled rather?
Yeah, hold that thought.
Sorry about that.
I don't think I've got just the remote in front of me. What I have is the combined attendance in front of me for remote and for hybrid. We're doing better this semester than we were doing last semester when we were all remote. I think that everybody kind of being back and having a little bit more rejuvenation has brought everybody up. But I can't get that just to kind of look at remote specifically. We can look at that.
No worries, all good.
It's as Mr. Zimmer's mentioned, though, that number doesn't capture those that are failing the symptom screenings.
Right, they don't. So because they're an excused absence, so they're not showing up as just not showing up to school.
I've just been looking at those from week to week, and it looks like throughout the week there's anywhere from 200 or 300 that are getting brought up.
We got some good news from the Sangamon County Health Department this week. The Binex Now was our hope to help us with some of the symptoms. Some of the symptoms that go along with COVID are also frequent symptoms of several other, any ailment that somebody could have, like a clear runny nose or a stomach bug. So the Binex Now, if we give it to students with symptoms, they're working on a report for us to say that if, maybe since our community spread is lower, that if we give a symptoms check to a child or an adult and they have certain symptoms, that they may be able to stay at school and not go home, because kids are starting to kind of know what to say and how to get to go home if they want to. That's a natural thing to have happen in schools, and that we combat all the time. So it's nothing new. Remember, Mr. Zimmer's working in middle school. You used to have people come up with some pretty crazy, creative ways to get to go home, I bet.
Bailey.
Yeah. Bailey. Yeah. So we were hoping that now if we give them the test and it says negative and they have some of these symptoms, that they may be able to go back. Or if it's somebody who we've ruled out previously as having an alternative diagnosis, that we can give them a test and get them back. But we're yet to get that report, but we're hoping that will come soon and that we'll have that capability.
Okay. And this was going to be a problem all along, not just for us, but for everybody, with that single symptom. So.
Right. I guess one other thing I wanted to talk about to, I guess, with old businesses, Mr. Zimmers, at the last board meeting, you had talked about the Illinois assessments that we have to give at the federal level. And we did get word last week that the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. did not, at the federal level, did not waive the test completely like they did last year. But they are going to allow for waivers of accountability and waivers of participation rate, so that districts won't be penalized or schools won't be penalized if we struggle getting the same level of participation this year due to remote learning. So we will still be giving the state assessments at this point in time. So that's good. Dr. Moody is the lead for that in our district, and she has been planning and preparing for that. So we will be giving you more information as that comes out about how we're giving that test and when we're giving those assessments across the district.
I think that's a good idea. I don't know. Won't that help you to see where students are in need?
That's it.
And if
So
you
that's
put it all
exactly the
together, then
mindset.
you won't
Right.
know that, yeah.
The mindset that we're taking is that this is a way for us to get a look at how students are performing, and maybe they didn't show up every day or participate every day, but maybe their learning has stayed on track due to the work that they're doing at home. And so we will have this as a gauge, and we're keeping a positive mindset about using the data in the right way. And we do know at the end of the year, we'll give our local MAP assessment too, that will give us a beginning of the year and an end of the year snapshot of each child. It will be a lot of work though, so we're gearing up for it.
Yeah, that was my next question. I can imagine, again, I know teachers and administrators, everybody's been working really hard all school year to adapt and whatnot. And I imagine that this may feel daunting as well to have on top of that. So
We do have a pretty big window to give the assessment. And the one good thing about having our spring break early is actually the spring break is before the window even opens up. Generally, we have spring break right in the middle of the assessment window. So we're hoping to be able to spread it out and make sure we give, teachers and students, a break over time in giving the assessments. And we'll work on the structure of how that will look now that we've gotten this word from the State Department.
And so will that be a combination of teachers working with their own building administrators to figure out what schedule works best for them? Or are you imagining that it'll have
We will give them some district-wide parameters, but then let their own school work on when they we've always done it that way. We've kind of given them some parameters and say, just work it out for how it's going to work best for your school and get it done by this certain date.
Okay, just want to
And
make
it
sure.
Also can be given online, or so we're going to give it online at school, and it can also be given remotely. So we'll have to figure out all the computer technology quirks with that, but we'll get it done so that it is a secure test that's given securely at home.
No problem. Thank you for answering my question.
Okay, well then, see, I have a problem with each individual school trying to work out their own assessments. There is some district guidelines for the schools on the elementary, the middle school, and the high school level, right?
We have the amount of time that you have to give the test, when you give it, but it works out differently for every school based on their lunch schedule and things like that. That's what I meant. It's just that they'll be able to say, we're going to give it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and we'll be ready to go. So that's how it works. The SAT does have to be in person. So there'll be some days, and we'll give you some more details about this. Dr. Moody is working this out with the 3 high schools. We will have some days where we may have to call a remote day for some of the younger grade levels, so that the 10th, 11th graders can take the test at the times that they have to take it. It has to be given in person. And so that means you have to have the kids come in. Even the remote kids will need to have an opportunity to come in, and we'll have to, spread kids out throughout the building.
Is there any hope to, again, is this something that can be off-site with the kids going to a different building or a larger
I'm
building?
going to have to get back to you on that one because of the parameters that we have to put place on who gives the test and when we give it. So
Okay.
let me get back to you. There is a National Testing Day. Well, there's several dates that we can do. The primary test date is April 13th. So we have a little bit of time to plan and prepare for this. And that's for the 11th grade. That's the SAT with an essay component. There's a makeup test date on April 27th. So that's a way that we can use that makeup day to bring in another group of kids and spread out kids further. Then there's a May date where we can make up. So students don't feel comfortable yet, but they may feel a little bit more comfortable in May. That's May 18th. So we've got several dates that we can do. And then we also give the PSAT for all 10th grade students and the PSAT for all ninth grade students. And that testing window is in that same time. So we'll have to figure that out as well. So once again, I've got Dr. Moody working with all of the great minds at the high schools to give us some parameters now that we know we are giving the assessment. And I'm a wholehearted believer of us giving the SAT. I think every child should graduate with a college going score on a test so that they can use it for the year after they graduate or 3 or 4 years into the future or whenever they want to go back to college. They'll always have the score to fall back on.
All right, well, now we move to 6.2. Are there any members that have any new business to bring before the board? Well, Superintendent, we'll move into the business report.
All right, it is my pleasure tonight to introduce Angela Burris, who's our manager of accounting for our district, and she's here tonight to deliver the business report. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Members of the board and Jennifer Gill, Superintendent. Attached, you will find an updated budget to actual report for the first round of the CARES funding. Mr. Fretz has submitted an amendment to ISB, which we anticipate should be approved shortly. The total district expenditures through February 28th are $4.13 million, or 56% of the amended budget. We do expect to fully expend this round of funding no later than August the 31st. Mr. Fretz will provide a more thorough presentation to the board once ISB approves the amendment. As of February 25th, outstanding state payments total $794,000. There should be an attached schedule. If you have any questions regarding this report, please feel free to contact Nate at 525-3040.
Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent, we will move to consent items.
Okay, President Mars and members of the board, I recommend approval of consent items 9.2 through 9.3.
Is there a motion?
Consent.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Hammers?
Johnson,
Aye.
Mars,
Aye.
Mathis,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Ringer,
Aye.
Zimmers,
Aye.
Blissett.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes.
All right, moving on to 10.1 roll call action items. Superintendent?
Okay, I recommend adoption of the personnel agenda as presented to you this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions? Ms. Hammers?
Mars,
Aye.
Mathis,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Ringer,
Aye.
Zimmers,
Aye.
Blissett,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
That is 7 aye votes.
Okay, we have announcements. 11.1, our next regular board meeting will be on March the 15th. Executive session at 6 o'clock, Superintendent, unless you see something pressing.
No, I do think we might need to start going back to 5:30. It's up to you guys. We were a little bit late tonight coming into open session just because it's hard at 6 o'clock, but it's completely up to you.
All right, I'll pull the board right now.
It's fine.
Whatever you want.
No, 5:30 is fine.
What, Mike?
5:30 is fine.
Okay, 5:30. Right now, I want to wish everybody in the district, all of our stakeholders. I know everybody is taking a breath right now with spring break. Hopefully, everybody will come back refreshed and recharged to sprint to the finish for May. And I believe Now we will move to public comment, 12.1. Ms. Hammers, do we have anybody in public comment? What was that? No. Do I need to read, do I need to read 12.1 or are we good?
I think we're good if nobody's called in.
Okay.
I had one more thing, Mr. Mars, just let everybody know, not only here, but in the community, that our office will be closed the next 2 days. However, people will be available if you need to reach out. We will have, people available here from our office. They're going to have to turn off all the water to remove a storage tank at Grant Middle School behind, and they're doing that because it's spring break. But they got in there today and started their work, and they're going to have to shut off all the water and plumbing to both of our buildings. So we will be working remotely. So if you have any needs, we will have people available to call people back.
Well, thank you, Superintendent. Fellow board members, is there anything else we'd like to bring before adjournment?
Thank
Ms.
you
Hammers,
for everybody
it's-
in this
No.
district working hard. So
Right.
appreciate it. It's been a lot. I'm glad to see where we're at. And I just want to say thank you.
Thanks again. Ms. Hammers, 7:30.